Damn it. I don't have any ideas, but I don't want to just make more DMC videos. Okay, this will do. Five Nights at Freddy's is a series that I always really liked. That's it. You know what? There's really no reason to make introduction, so let's start with the review part. Just one thing. When I'm talking about a game, I am talking purely and exclusively about that game. So if I say something about, for example, the story, do not jump into the comments to tell me about something that came out later. I am already aware, but it's not relevant here, okay? The premise of this game is that you have just been hired as the security guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where they serve burgers. Where there are animatronics, you have to watch the building from your office from 12 am to 6 am. This setting is already pretty clever. Going to a place usually inhabited by lots of kids and employees when there's nobody there is already unnerving enough, but you also have to share the game with these machines that give the illusion of being alive, even if they aren't. This is very intentional since the trailer alludes to this idea. Of course, the menu screen with Freddy looking at you, the music that gives the sense of mystery, and the noise already should tell you this game is not going to be very happy themed. The animatronics will actually move in the night and try to wander into your office. You can't move, you can only stop them from entering. The premise of this game is simply excellent. It is a great concept with a lot of potential to terrify. However, does the game live up to this fantastic premise? As I said before, you can't move in this game. Many horror games revolve around the idea of you either running away of something or venturing into a terrifying place to do something. If you look at many of the most famous horror games, they can be summed up with this description. Because of this, throwing something very different at the player can make them feel unsafe because of how new everything is.
Oh my god! I thought it was weird that it couldn't move! This is totally different than any horror game I've ever played.
Of course, nowadays with the games that FNAF inspired all of the FNAF games and the 200 million FNAF fan games, this is not something uncommon anymore. But you have to remember that when FNAF came out, this wasn't something famous. Of course, I'm sure there must be some obscure games, or very obvious examples that are flying over my head, that did this, but FNAF did it when nobody else was doing it, which gives it points for being original. During the night, because of the decreasing budget of the place, you have a limited amount of energy to use. Everything you do except looking around will add another bar to the consumption bar, and one bar will always be there for the light and the fun. The energy runs out really fast, like really fast. If the animatronics aren't too aggressive and you do well, it's still unlikely that you will finish the night with more than 10% of it. In fact, in the first night I was very conservative with the energy and I finished with 17%. A night is 8 minutes and 50 seconds long, so you need to waste as little energy as possible. You mustn't keep the doors closed for more time than you need to. The doors are the only thing that can stop the animatronics from entering your office. To know when to close them, you have lights to see them, and also see when they're gone. All of these mechanics set up for a very stressful experience, since using the stuff that protects you leads also to your death if you use it too much. So what about the animatronics? There are 4 animatronics in the game: Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. Bonnie will approach slowly to the cameras in the left side. Once he reaches your door, you have to shut it in his face. Chica is the same, but she will go for the right side. Both of these are very simple, but the other 2 complicate this a bit. Foxy is out of order in the Pirate Cove. If you don't check the cameras, Foxy will slowly start leaving the place. Once he leaves, he won't approach slowly, but rather will run to your office. He won't enter if the door is closed, but he will knock before going back to the Pirate Cove to do all of this again. However, when he knocks your door, he will drain 1% of your energy. This isn't much, but the bad part is that the next time he knocks, he will drain 6%, then 11%, and so on. I don't need to say why him draining 11% is pretty much a death sentence. All of this means you can't simply forget about him and close the door when he comes for you. You can't allow him to knock twice, so it is punishing enough to make you try to avoid him, but forgiving enough so you're not doomed if he reaches you once. Also, you don't need to check Pirate Cove specifically, but you may want to see how close he is to leaving, since even if you check the cameras constantly, he will end up escaping anyway at least once. Finally, there's Freddy, who is the most dangerous one. He activates in night 3 and will come from the right side. However, he will always hide, so it's harder to see him. But you will know he moves because there's a lag every time he does. He also won't be seen in the doors. He jumps from the camera before into your office. To stop him here, you have to close the doors and look at the cameras, because he tends to attack when you're not looking at him. Once you hear the lag, he will be at another room. The best way to stop him, however, is to look at him in the cameras, because it will slow him down and most of the time completely keeps him in place. Finally, if you run out of energy, all the animatronics will deactivate and Freddy will come to play a song until the place is completely dark and kill you. The amount of time this takes is completely random, so sometimes you will have time to prepare a tea and sometimes he will kill you in 2 seconds. It keeps the tension because you can still make it to 6 AM, so you want him to take as much as possible. All of these mechanics are very good and very fitting for the horror, as well as original, but there are some issues. First, the only new threat the game throws at you is Freddy at night 3. This means that nights 4, 5 and 6 are all the same, with the animatronics becoming more aggressive. This makes the game repetitive even if it's short. Second, there's no reason to watch the cameras where Freddy isn't, so you can see Pirate Cove to check Foxy, but there's no reason to watch Bonnie and Chica. If anything, it is disadvantageous to do so for the energy. This means once the player realizes this, they will start ignoring all the rest of the map, which is a real shame because of the atmosphere. But at least the keyword is once, so before that realization they will watch the cameras. Third, Bonnie, Chica and Foxy are all well explained by Fungi, but all Fungi ever says about Freddy is that he likes the dark. The game gives you no clue on how to defend against him, so you either do the right strategy by chance or you die to him until you realize how he works. This may be because originally Freddy was only going to attack when the power runs out, and this was changed, but it's still a problem. Also, in Night 3, Bonnie had a bug where he just decided to stay in the door forever and got me killed. Then when I retried, Chica did the same. Thankfully she was kind and left, but this can be very frustrating.
Oh, he's still there! Is he still there? He is still there! Is he still there? I don't want to go screw himself. I can't deal with this. You're gonna make me keep that door locked. He's just gonna stand there. He's gonna stand there like a creep and gonna use up all my power. But this guy, he's not leaving. Why is he not leaving? Oh God, I'm never gonna make it because he's still there. Go away. Nobody likes you. He's still there. And will you just go? Okay. Okay.
The way I will solve this is have a new thread for nights 5 and 6, whatever you want, a Golden Freddy, another animatronic, or a change in the normal ones, but something that differentiates the ending of the game. Have another mechanic in the game to force you to use the cameras more, maybe a room you have to watch out where the animatronics can drain your power or something. This way it will be useful to know if they're coming for you or for that room. Another thing that occurred to me will be cameras in your doors where you can see Bonnie and Chica along with the door lights, but Freddy can only be seen in the cameras. This will be an alternative way to make Freddy more dangerous. Make the fun guy explain Freddy as well. In conclusion, the mechanics in this game are very original and they can be really good for a first playthrough, but in closer inspection there is plenty of room for improvement. Your room is very interesting. It seems dirty, it has posters and drawings, some things that seem to be screens. There's a cupcake of Chica that seems to be looking at you. The poster always gives me the impression that you can never look somewhere and not see the characters. There's a light in the middle, but the sides are very dark and turning on the light doesn't really make it calming. The room you're in is difficult to forget. It feels safe but also dangerous. It is very interesting. The UI is very simplistic, showing you how much energy you have, how much you're using, the night and the hour, along with the indicative of the cameras. This UI does well its job by showing you just what you need and doesn't hinder anything. So overall, I will say there's very little room for improvement in this place, which is great because it's what you will see in the most. However, the graphics is another story. For the most part, the graphics are well made, but because of the engine the game uses to create the 3D effect, it uses something like a cylinder and it looks rough when you look at the sides. I don't think it's impossible to make it better with some tricks, but Scott didn't really do that. Luckily, the cameras almost don't suffer from this. The cameras will always have this static effect that hinders your view. This can create moments where you might not be capable of telling if there was something there or not. It's especially unnerving with Freddy, who tends to hide in the dark. The pizzeria, while looks like a place that can be welcoming, it certainly doesn't feel like that in the dark. You can see a lot of different areas, public areas for cleaning, bathrooms, and the room with the animatronics parts. The Pirate Cove has a unique personality to it, and the drawings of the kids in the walls can be cute but also terrifying like in real life. The whole pizzeria is very well put together, to put it simply. The main cast of animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie and Chica, are pretty unique and give perfectly the family-friendly vibe, but also the scary vibe animatronics have in real life. However, their designs are a bit too simple. Freddy and Bonnie seem like reskins of each other with slightly different heads, colors and accessories. Chica has a different feet, a completely different head, her second mouth is also more visible than the others, and the first time you play, when you don't know it is her endoskeleton, it can wake up your imagination. She also has a bib that says "Let's eat." This thing, of course, is just meant for the children, but when she's chasing you, you may imagine something different. Also, I mean something gore or bloody. Do not misinterpret it, freaks. However, her body still seems too similar to the ones of Freddy and Bonnie. Foxy seems to be the only one that doesn't reuse from the other models. His whole body is unique. Aside from that, his design has a lot of personality and his many worn parts fit well with a character that's out of order. The characters, excluding Foxy, could have more work put into them, but honestly, they are so memorable and iconic that it is difficult not to say they're great designs. They have a lot of love put into them. Aside from their base designs, the animatronics also benefit from the stuff they do in the game. Many times in the cameras they will appear normal, but many times they will also start doing creepy stuff. Their eyes turning dark with two white pupils, Chica opening her big maw, Freddy looking from the dark. Something cool that Bonnie and Chica will do in Night 4 onwards is this twitching, like they're getting desperate to kill you. These details complement the designs. Aside from what I've talked about, there's one more important thing: hallucinations. Randomly, a hallucination will play. These are things like an image of Bonnie with no eyes or Freddy with human eyes, the words "It's me" popping up as text, or in the walls or in the Pirate Cove, images of children crying, everything in the backstage looking at you between others, and the most famous one, where there is a very small chance that when looking at cam 2B, the poster will show a yellow Freddy, and when you flip down, and it closes the game. To avoid this, you have to pull the monitor up again and he will be gone. His design is a simple recolor of Freddy, but he looks dead. It seems like there's no life in him. He doesn't even move. Because of this, Golden Freddy is unforgettable. The most important hallucination happens when the pages change their text, but I'll talk about them when the story section comes up. These hallucinations happen randomly, so they could scare you or take you off guard even if you're familiar with the game, which is why I like them so much. So in conclusion, aside from some improvable designs and the cylinder, everything in the game's visuals goes from good to fantastic, especially impressive considering it was made by one person. The sound in this game is what completes the atmosphere. Your room will be filled with the sound of a fan, which is an annoyance, because it distracts you from the important sounds. At the same time, turning the lights on will make this choppy sound. However, you will miss it when the animatronics block the door and you can only hear this sound that seems to be mocking you. When you pull the camera up, the animatronic will make sure you notice them with his very creepy breath. Other sounds that will try to distract you or creep you out are things like Foxy singing, or the ambient sounds when the animatronics are getting closer. Another example of the sounds trying to create many emotions, we have the moment where you run out of energy. A sound that will be creepy at first, but maybe will become a relief once you realize that the animatronics don't attack here and you have some time to breathe in the dark until he comes. Freddy will start playing this song, Toreador, and then the game comes down completely, nothing to hear, except for the footsteps, nothing to see, but you know he's getting closer. Not all sounds are against you though, many sounds will be of help. When you light the hallway and see an animatronic, it will be a loud noise. This at first will scare you, but because the noise is so loud, it actually warns you, so there's no way of missing it by accident. Another example is in the kitchen. The camera doesn't work there, but both animatronics that go there will make sounds that you can hear from your office and sound louder in the camera. This means you can use this to know the position of Chica and Freddy. There are many more interesting sounds, but to be honest, the video How Audio Enhances the Horror of Five Nights at Freddy's from Scruffy explains it so well that I feel like I would waste my time if I talked about it for so long, because I can't possibly make it better than him. Instead, I'll move on and talk about the most controversial sound in the game. Jump scares are something quite controversial. Many believe it is cheap and shows a lack of effort to create real horror. Others believe jump scares, if used correctly, they can be a release of all the tension at once and enhance the horror. To be honest, I do not have neither an opinion nor an objective statement about jump scares. I can't reach out a conclusion no matter how much I think about it. It's just too complicated, and honestly I doubt that something objective can be said with it. What I will say is that if you remove the jump scares from this game, I believe the horror stays there. I don't think the horror in this game works only for the jump scares. All of this, of course, if it's your first time playing and you don't know how the game works, of course, because you can turn anything into not scary if you see it enough times. So yeah, the sound design is very good. Once you enter the night, you will be welcomed by this guy, the phone guy. Spoiler, until Sister Location nobody has names in these games, so we have to resort to nicknames. He will explain you the important stuff. This guy is voiced by the creator of the game, and honestly, despite, as as far as I know. He not being a voice actor, he did a really good job here. The voice never feels unnatural and it's very well acted. I find it very amusing when he's trying to convince you there's no danger but also tries to warn you subtly.
Now, concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person.
He will also give you hints to stop the animatronics in the first 2 nights, but the third one is just useless. I wonder if it was a scrap mechanic or something. During the first night he will also tell you some information about the restaurant, like he implies the restaurant is 20 years old, and he also gives a reason for why the animatronics don't simply get deactivated in the night.
Characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87.
Was that the bite of 87?
During night 4, however, he gets a bit unlucky.
Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
In night 5, someone wants to talk to you. It can be a nasty surprise. After that, not much happens. You get paid a misery, then you come back for a 6th night for Employee of the Month and hopefully a rise. And in the real ending, in the custom night, your character will be fired for tampering with the animatronics, general unprofessionalism, and other. Seems to me that the company was looking for a reason to get you fired. So, there isn't a lot of plot in FNAF. In fact, the game seems full of nonsense. If the animatronics just think you're an endoskeleton, why do they act so creepy and scream when they find you? What are all the hallucinations about? Why does your character return every day? If you simply play the game, you won't notice anything. But this game has an explanation for all of these questions. Well, except for Mike, you have to imagine that. The most important hallucination that I avoided mentioning was the paper in the east hall corner. This paper normally shows rules for the restaurant, but sometimes it changes to a set of newspapers. In summary, at some point 5 children went missing because someone used a costume to lure them. The bodies were never found, and suspiciously the animatronics started leaking blood and mucus and smelling really bad. If you connect the dots, well, it seems like the company realized where the bodies were. This also explains all the warnings Fungi was talking about. It wasn't just for security guards.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah blah blah.
So, because of the creepy behavior of the animatronics and the whole "it's me" thing, it's easy to realize that the animatronics are possessed by the souls of the missing children. In fact, we have 5 victims and 5 animatronics with Golden Freddy. In fact, this could explain why Golden Freddy doesn't have an endoskeleton. Maybe he was the suit used. Maybe the culprit was a worker at the pizzeria, which would explain why they want to kill the security guards. Maybe they don't remember exactly how the killer looked, but they want to do the same thing that he did to them. This could also be the reason behind the bite of 87. Talking about that, It is curious that there's never an explanation of why the animatronic with sharp teeth that can run is out of order, unless he did something nasty to someone in 1987? The story in general is very cryptic. We don't know who killed the phone guy, we don't know Golden Freddy's origin, and we don't know if the killer was actually caught or is still out there. However, if you're interested, you can speculate about it. Maybe Golden Freddy was the one behind the bite and that's why he doesn't have an endoskeleton. Maybe he was the original Freddy. Maybe the endoskeleton in the backstage is his. Besides, the game trusts that you will find the Easter eggs and put the pieces together to see what's going on. And once you come up with something that makes sense, and it can be really satisfying. However, this doesn't take away that despite how interesting and creepy the story is, there isn't much about it. There are a few events, but not a lot, so it doesn't really save how little plot there is during the game. But it is a great blueprint, and it would be interesting if they expanded it in some sequel. So, after you beat the game, what else can you do? Well, pretty much nothing. Once you beat the 6th night, which I'm not really sure if I should count as extra, you get the custom night to temper with the animatronics AI. Honestly, there could be more stuff to manipulate, but it's alright. But aside from making unique challenges with different sets of difficulties and the 420 mode, there's not much to do in FNAF. You beat the game and that's it. I'm not really sure if it's strictly a negative, but it is worth mentioning. For a game that was made by one person who never made a horror game before, I'd say Five Nights at Freddy's is really good. The game becomes repetitive, the story needs expansion, the jumpscares are questionable and the graphics are improvable. But the game overcomes this with very original and creative gameplay, great art design, sound design and atmosphere, and for being a very unique experience. At least back when it came out. There's not really much more than I can say. Well, that's the review. I hope you liked it. Consider subscribing and check out some of my other stuff. Recently this channel has been growing up a lot and I'm very happy for that. The next video will probably be about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, so check out for that. And here are some memes that I made.
You choose to be nothing!